accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and/or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the Township Clerk, and has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office and at each of the school buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Atkinson, Mr. Capello,
Here.
Mrs. Lindsay, Mr. Cass,
Here.
Mr. Duarte, Mrs. DeLuna. Here. Mr. Navarone.
Here, we have Mike is away on business. Carlos and Mariana, I know, are running a couple minutes late. We're going to move, we'll do the pledge after we come out of executive. Keno, you want to move us into executive? If you don't mind.
I move to convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of this closed session will be to discuss negotiations, legal and personal issues. Minutes of the session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second. Second from Don. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It is now not 7:01, and we are moving into executive session. Thanks. All right, we are out of executive session. We postponed the Pledge of Allegiance until we had this nice group in front of us. So if you don't mind, please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for all coming. We're going to start off with you, Ms. Sasso, right? And a nursing report.
And where I need to see
Right over there. Mind you, you're on camera.
Could you have a microphone for Ms. Sasso?
I'll try to speak loud.
Doesn't
No,
work.
we do have a
It
mic.
doesn't work. I can't hear anything with this air conditioner.
Is this one on? No. Please speak up. Just speak as loud as you can.
Good evening. I'm Marie Sasso. I've been a nurse at Lakeview School for over 20 years and the head nurse for Denville for approximately 10 years. Our goal as school nurses are to have the children healthy, safe, and ready to learn. We are very busy in the health office, and this report reflects what we do. And hopefully, my objectives, I kind of want to move this forward.
Patrick.
Okay, my objectives for tonight are to explain our monthly report because I understand there's been a lot of questions about it, so hopefully we can clarify that. Also, I'd like to review a new reformatted template. I reviewed it with all the other nurses, and we tried to make it a little more clear. We didn't really change anything, we just changed the format to make it hopefully easier for everyone, and then to answer any questions about the report. So, we'll start by talking about the visits. The report at the beginning of it has the number of students in each school, and then we have the number of new students. So that's the students who transfer
Patrick, can you flip slides?
into the school every month. I didn't realize you put that on. Okay. Then the next one, new students from Denville, usually if they're preschool, they're from Denville, they're starting out, or if they transfer to, from St. Mary's. Then we also count the number of transfers from in the state, out of the state, and out of the country. And we need that information for our state reports. Then the next one, transfers out. That's the number of students who moved out, and what the nurses need to do for that is they need to review the health record and within 10 days, transfer it to the new school district. Then the next topic, pupil visits to the nurse for first aid, illness, and other reasons. Now that is the number of visits that we report to Genesis. Now that counts students who come to the health officer for some type of nursing intervention. If they're delivering a note for a teacher, that's not a nursing intervention. They're not counted. It's if they need first aid, if they feel sick, if they're returning from illness, let's say they have a concussion or they have surgery and we need to meet with them and, work out accommodations for them, that counts as those visits. So then the next category, pupil visits for daily medication, that number reflects how many students are scheduled daily on a regular basis to come for medication at a certain time. So, for instance, let's say there's 3 students coming every day for medication. And as I said, that varies according to school. Well, if there's 20 days in the month and there's 3 visits a day, that number would be 60. So it's the total daily visit numbers for the month.
We get the child has to come back and say, takes medication in the morning and then in the afternoon.
Right, that would be 2
That would be
visits.
2 visits.
Right. Then the next one, pupil visits for daily medical treatment. That, for the most part, is blood glucose testing. We have some children with diabetes who may need to come like 5 times a day. Now that's the extreme, but it's possible. So we count, that's a medical treatment. We also have students that need to be catheterized. That's a medical treatment. These are regularly scheduled visits. So again, depending on the number of students with diabetes in the school, that number could be, very high in some schools, and right now in Lakeview, it doesn't exist. Because we don't have any diabetics. Now, underneath that is pupil visits for daily insulin. Now, that is not counted in the total number, because any child who comes to have their, to get insulin must have their blood glucose checked. So we're already counting them as a treatment. So we're not counting them for insulin. But insulin, giving insulin can be very time consuming depending on the age of the child. If they're in the lower grades, they have nothing to do with it, and the nurse has to do it all. And based on the blood glucose number, and based on the calories that the student is consuming, and based on the time, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So administering insulin can be very time-consuming and needs a lot of concentration. So that's why we put that there, because it's significant. But again, we don't add that in, so we're not, doubling our numbers. We just have it there. Then pupil screening. That also, we finally got together on that, because there was some discrepancy. We are counting the screenings as visits. Now, that all gets added in to our total of visits. So I hope that clarifies where our numbers are coming from. We show the screenings that we're doing for the month, but the vision and hearing takes time, so that is counted as a visit. Very often, height, weight, and blood pressure is just done in mass, like in the gym, and that's not counted as a visit because you're just getting that information. But hearing and screening, we do count. And then referrals, that's the number of students that need to be referred based on state guidelines. So when we total up those numbers minus the insulin, that comes to the total pupil visits for the nurse. So are there any questions on that page? Okay, now to continue the report. Then phone calls for pupil attendance and help. Now the nurses do the attendance calls. The calls all come into the health office. And when there's follow-up needed, and very often there is, the parent will leave a message, but they'll want us to call. So we do a lot of health education with our phone calls, and we also do follow-up, and we have school messenger, but today I was emailing Cindy, we're still working out some of the issues with school messenger. We're still making it, because for some reason we're not reaching it. But That refers to attendance called an additional call that we need to make about, the students and college. The next one, nurse conferences with students and parents. Now, what a conference is kind of arbitrary, but I consider if I have a detailed conversation, and it's not just a simple information exchange, if you're doing health education, if you're making plans, and it's extensive, that I consider a conference. And we try to all be on the same page, but again, every nurse is a little bit different. Okay, so that explains all those numbers. Now, getting into the next section, the pupils that are sent home by the nurse. Some are sent home for injuries, and they're not always serious injuries. If somebody falls at dismissal because the kids were playing outside and is bleeding or, twisted their ankle and just can't ice it for, 20 minutes before the bus takes off, that's still an injury. So injuries are reasons why children need to get picked up, and not necessarily that they're major serious injuries. Conjunctivitis is very contagious, so we count that for children who we suspect has had conjunctivitis. We don't diagnose it, but we suspect it. Those children usually need medical follow-up. The next one for head lice. Most parents, as soon as they hear their child have head lice, can't wait to get them home and start to treat them.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Does that say parents may choose to pick up their child when notified of head lice? It's not mandatory.
Well, it used to be, but our protocol is based on evidence-based practice, and children were missing a lot of schools across the country for head lice, which is not a disease, which is a nuisance, but does not pose any health threat. So children, they need to be treated, but they are not forced to go home. Because they've been there anyway. They didn't, that louse didn't just magically appear at the moment we found it. So that, as I said, that has changed with the years. When I first started working here, it was much. But, okay, and then let's see, the next one is gastrointestinal symptoms. If children are vomiting, they usually go home. And if they, keep coming back to us that they're so uncomfortable that they can't function, we will send them home for GI symptoms. For headache and fever, our standard is if their temperature is 100, we send them home. That's based on our medical orders from our school doctor. And if they have a severe debilitating headache where they're just not able to function, or if they had a concussion and they develop a headache, they're all reasons why children would go home. And then upper respiratory infections, if they have asthma, we don't have a medication, or they just have a really bad cold and they're coughing all over everybody and not functioning, we would send them home for that. And miscellaneous is anything else that might require them going home. So that, we give a number every month of the whole the number of children we send home, and then we break it down into categories. Suspected contagion, that is information that's reported to us either by the parent or by the doctor's note. That a child, let's say, went to the doctor, they had strep throat, that they have to deal with that strep throat or that, whatever. So there are the different categories of contagion, and that's kind of self-explanatory. And we do it for public health reasons too, because the one good thing about doing attendance, we can track what's going on. And when swine flu came out in New York, it was a school nurse who actually identified what was happening. So it's important that, I feel I have a previous experience in public health, that by doing attendance and tracking what's going on, we really know the trends that are happening in the school and we take action. So now moving on.
I got a question, if you don't mind. On the strep throat, recently brought to my attention was this, I guess, genetically passed on panda, where some children are more susceptible than others to strep strep throat, and you're predisposed to it because of, it's in their system all the time, so they get it pretty quick. And also, it's been linked to behavioral and learning issues with those children. So, we have, I don't know how familiar the school is.
We do have children with cancer.
Okay, so what would be the, is reported by the parent or MD, what would be like the threshold where we would recommend the parent has more testing on their children to see if they have treatment?
Well,
for it?
usually if it's repeated, incidents of strep throat, then we recommend that they follow up with the specialist and see what is, really going on.
What would be like repeated? Twice a year, 3 times a year, or once a year?
Well,
3 years?
usually if it keeps recurring in a short time, and usually, well, today with many cases of strep throat, usually they'll be followed by an ear and throat specialist who will determine, make a medical determination what needs to be done. So we talk to the parents. That's part of, some parents really don't know. I will go to the nutrition, and we'll go to different places, different doctors. Not everybody has a medical home. So we do, recommend to parents to follow up.
I never heard about it. I heard of strep throat, but I never heard about it recently, and apparently
But it's becoming more and more identified. I don't know if it's been there and people haven't recognized it, but yes, we do have. Okay, the next category, accidents, the number of accidents. Usually we count as accidents when it's something serious that requires medical follow-up and we'll do an accident. So that's what's counted under accidents. So it is different things. And then they go through the board office or anything. And then we break it down to staff, to visitors, students, and then if it happens in PE class, so if all of a sudden we see a lot of accidents in PE class, we may have to look and say, okay, what's going on, or if it's during recess, if something happening in recess that we need to look at, and then if it's just general sports. So that's the reason it's broken up like that. And then another category is staff returning to school. That's usually if it's been an extended illness or injury, just to make sure that that staff may need accommodations. So that's what the nursing is. Are there any questions about that?
The staff injury, do we have to report that to the insurance company?
Yes, so they file, we now use Qualcare, and what happens is the procedure for a staff accident is they complete an accident report. I call it in, and then they deal with the insurance company who determines where they're going to go with the follow-up.
If it's,
If it's required. And if it's not required, they have a number. Let's say, they think they're okay, they're safe, they're not going anywhere, and then over the weekend they have some complications or some doctors. We have the toll-free number that we call.
Council, do we provide any or some of this information to the public county?
Well, depending, yes. If I took Penny Grossman whenever there's contagion, that's reported. Like certain conditions which we don't list here because they're not really common, but if you have suspected measles or chicken pox, though, is reported. And we've had outbreaks of that last year, and we get health nurse involved, or even if it's just flu, and we see high numbers of flu, I would be involved with. And on this last section, can you turn it, where did Patrick go? We need the next page. Okay,
Yeah,
there
it's
we go.
one.
That's it, okay. So as an action plan, that number we put on every month, and we'll see it increases as the year goes on. Students that have asthma, there's a state form that doctors are required to fill out and put it on the file, and children that have asthma have usually rescue medications in the health office, just in case that they have some have asthma action plans on file for that. And then for students with EpiPens, and that number is actually higher than the students with asthma. And we have EpiPens, and then we have individual emergency heart surgery, which goes to the teachers, you know, the subs, or the cafeteria staff, or the bus drivers. So everybody is well informed about the children that have EpiPens and are at risk of EpiPens. Now, the next one, IRNS, Investigative Referral Services, Child Study Team, 504 meetings, or just parent-teacher meetings. Whenever there's medical involvement with these students, the nurses try to attend the meetings or at least talk to somebody who's running the meeting, so there's input on the actual positions. And then also, the nurses complete a report on any student who is referred to potentially referral, CSP, or speech. So we do a report, we do their screenings, we do their hearing, and write up a health summary for any students that have been referred. Then the next item, preparation for field trips. The nurse reviews all the forms before they go to the board office because we need to determine what students are attending the trips and where it is. First of all, we always need to make sure it's handicap accessible, but we do have students with mobility issues. And we also, depending on the medical needs of the students, we decide whether a nurse needs to go or if we can just send a delegate to the and or we can tell them. So we figure that all out before we trip those moves on for students. Then sports physicals reviewed by the doctor. That's only for Valley View, and the sports physicals are a very lengthy, detailed process that takes a lot of time. So we count the number of sports physicals every month that the nurse needs to process and bring to the school. District nursing meetings, that sometimes gets difficult for all of us to meet. We try to utilize in-service days or conference days with the nursing and can open this up for the same day. The next item is staff training, and now we use online training through GNC. That has helped, that we don't have to have as much time spent with faculty meetings. But we do need to still do individualized training based on specific students. So we still do staff training, but as I said, it is less. And then the next item refers to diabetes management plans that require specialized training for all the staff involved. And also we have emergency care plans for students with diabetes as well as students with other health concerns. So that's what those numbers reflect, the diabetes plans and emergency plans. Then the next one is concussions, and that was added a few years ago because there is definitely more concussion awareness, and the number of concussions has increased, and the way concussions are treated is a lot different because students now coming back to school need accommodations for concussions. They can't just, usually do a full day and take all their tests and do everything else. So concussions, and some of the students require bioreporting. So that we can separate item because that does take a lot of nursing. The 911 calls, that's kind of self-explanatory when we respond to come for an emergency. Pre-case screening, that refers only to the elementary schools, Lakeview and Riverview, and we try to do vision and hearing screening now before they enter kindergarten, so we can be proactive in identifying any difficulties and have, intervention before school actually starts. Then the nursing services plan, that's an annual plan that is presented, so I'm sure you've heard about it, it comes up later in the fall. And we use the data from this report to complete our nursing services. The annual TV if you have questions,
I have a couple of questions. On the pre-K screening, is that mandatory?
well, we encourage everybody to come. There's also educational component that the kindergarten students do, so we bring the children in for, you know, the health component and also the education.
Okay, when I look at the report, and the number of students, I understand, you know, the insulin, these kids have, you know, required medication and things like that. But I looked at the numbers, and you divide it by, and on average, okay, and I understand some days you probably see more kids than others, but.
Monday.
Yeah, but I looked at, you know, averaged out the numbers and the number of days of the week and number of hours of the day. You know, after I did that, it didn't seem like you had time for lunch to go to the bathroom or anything else. It looked like it was, you know, just a lot of kids that you see every day, and plus you have paperwork too. So, you know, I was just wondering if, you know, is the staffing adequate? It's manageable. It just seems that's a large volume of kids that you see for very important reasons.
Right. Well,
It's a lot.
we do address that every year in the nursing services plan. So you'll have more clear numbers with that. Now, Valley View, I must say, because the sports people have a much higher volume of paperwork to do. So Valley View may have, could probably benefit from additional time. At Lakeview, it really depends. Some days we're very busy. We've seen up to 100 students a day. Fortunately, that doesn't happen very often. That's very rare. So we kind of balance it. We can have some very busy days. And sometimes if things get really overwhelming, that's when we would need to bring in maybe a sub to help us with the screening. And that's what Riverview needs to do, because at Riverview there's only one nurse. So in order to get the screening done, it's really helpful to have a sub come and cover the health office, so the screenings can get done because they are still needed. But that information is addressed, as I said, hopefully we're going to start working on the nursing.
Yeah, the other question I had is, just in general, how many students would be, you know, faking when they go down there? Maybe you need a little TLC, or maybe you had a student like me that went down to the nurse's office to do a test.
Well, we get to know the students, and we usually try to, you know, one thing that's really good now that we use Genesis, we can track the time that the students are coming in very easily. So we can look at patterns, and we can see, you know, is this child coming in getting math, or, you know, what are they trying to avoid? And, you know, we really get to know the students and, you know, coordinate with the teachers, you know, talk to the parents. So we try to, you know, help the students. If they're trying to get out of class all the time, well, there's some kind of a need for something. So that's why we do a lot of collaboration to help people so this doesn't continue, you know, help the children.
I would agree and give kudos to the nurses for that, because I know when my son was at Valley View, I think they lovingly referred to him as a frequent flyer. And it was them that recognized the pattern and reached out to me before anybody else did. So kudos to the nurses for doing that.
Well, we have Jen here. She's the part-time Valley View nurse, and I want to thank her for what she does and for being here tonight. Are there any other questions?
This is obviously an extensive data. Can you give us some idea of how long it takes for you guys to bring this data together?
We always do it at home, so,
Okay, that's,
you know, we
Yeah, that's-
don't do it.
it's not done during the day.
No,
And it's hours of work.
right. The compute, you know, being computerized, having all the data in Genesis has helped tremendously, because we can just, you know, press the numbers and find out our visits, whereas before we were just counting. So it has expedited.
So, first off, thank you for doing this. I know it's much more difficult sometimes to talk to probably adults rather than children. I get my wife talking to me, so thanks for coming out, standing in front of us and speaking. But the one question I sort of, to Dino's point, is it seems like some of it seems like total makes sense, but a lot of it seems like it's just paperwork for the sake of paperwork. And excuse me for not knowing, but are we making you do this? Or is this?
Well, this report's been around for
I would like to
very,
answer that question.
Yeah.
My name is Jennifer Siddle, I'm the part-time nurse at Valley View. And being a nurse needs documentation. So the town or the Board of Education is not making us do paperwork. The laws governing nursing care make us do paperwork.
Right, but some
So
of
no
it
matter
is-
what, when I worked in a hospital, I worked in home care, and I worked in a school. And being a nurse means doing paperwork, you must document everything you do.
No, that's fair. I would imagine that, you know, a student comes in, they're sick, and you document the fact that they came in, right? Now you're sort of, the redundancy in this seems bizarre to me, which is that not only are you documenting it the first time that they've come in, because you know, Chase comes to the nurse's office all the time, but, you know, he comes into the nurse's office and you document, you know, here's Chase Napoli, and he's said the nurse. But then you go to this report, and then you fill it in again, and then probably somewhere else as well. And it just seems like a total, to a certain degree, it seems like a total waste of your time, when it could be, your time seems much more valuable to be used in other areas than filling out a report to come to us, when it could be probably a lot less work to do that.
well, as I said, we use this information for other reports. We need it for our nursing services plan. It streamlines the nursing services plan. Otherwise, we would be just like digging through all this data.
Right.
And now we look at our monthly reports, and that gives us the information we need. When we need to do our TB report, we have the information there. So the report serves other purposes.
Would it make your life easier if you did it quarterly instead of monthly?
I think that it would take longer to do, but I can, you know, I can talk about it with the other nurses and, you know, get their feedback, but I just think then there would be more numbers to deal with, doing it at the end of every month.
Well, if the three of you, or five of you now, I guess, if you all come together and have an idea of what can make this process a little more streamlined for you, let me know.
Okay.
And I'll share it with the board and see if we can work it.
Okay.
Definitely don't want you doing something just to do it.
Right.
That'd be a waste of time. You're already bogged down with all this stuff, so if there's something that we can take away from you, or make it easier for you, I'd be interested in hearing.
Okay, I appreciate that, and we will look at it.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So thank you for that. Now we're going to move into our superintendent's comments section. Sure goes. All right.
And we know you all have to get up tomorrow for work, so if you want to.
Feel free to stay here.
You're welcome.
It's
to
very
stay.
exciting.
We won't be offended.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No offense
Thank
whatsoever.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
We
you for the report
appreciate you
again.
coming.
So, I put out in the last couple of reports that we would like to do the meetings the first Tuesday of the month. I think that helps accommodate you, Mariana, because Mondays are tough for you at that time. So if we can do the 5:30 I&P and personnel, and the 6:15 operations, so it'll be next Tuesday. It's been on that report for a few weeks now. I also put on the report that the next board-to-board is at Morris Knowles on October 14th at 6:30 p.m. And just want to highlight that so everybody knows.
Yeah, there is. Actually, Darryl Strawberry is going to be at Morris Knowles
Oh,
that
doing-
same night, doing a presentation.
I thought it was something else, but that's a good point.
I don't know. Maybe a month.
I would have to have Jesse's going to.
Yeah, you're right, that thing came up. I'll just make sure that he doesn't want to change that. Let me just make sure that the rate's in that.
I thought there was something else too.
Something else besides.
Yeah.
Darryl Strawberry.
They already gave out 11 tickets. The free tickets. You just have to go online.
And yes, the date you've been giving us is Wednesday, October 14th at 6:30.
Yeah,
Board.
Yeah, because I already put it on my calendar.
I have it on mine, it's got the same day.
Yeah, that's the date you gave us. so.
Yeah, I'll double check with Jim to see what he says. B2B, Darryl. Next thing is the ESIP resolution. Believe it or not, we inadvertently left off the regular agenda. I think it's just because we spoke about it so much, and so we had to put that on the addenda. But that's the same thing that we've been talking about since February. Finally, we're ready to have the resolution passed so that we can start the process. Once it's passed, we'll inform Honeywell and we'll start moving on it. I went to the Sustainable Jersey Green Fair. Saw Dino there, brought some tables over, everything worked out nicely. There was a nice turnout there, and I was very happy to see that Mr. Bertani represented the school district, and that's one of his roles as administering the sustainability program, so I thought that was nice. The busing kinks have been working out. You know, obviously, remember we cut about 300 bus stops this year, and we're trying to reduce the amount of stops, even though and I understand when people say, like, you're driving right by my house, why can't you stop there too? But if you add up all those, can you stop here, can you stop there, even if it's 30 seconds, if you do it 300 times, it slows down the process. And if we want to try to get to the two-tier system next year, we need to be more efficient with time. The good thing is, you remember when I first got here and I found out that kids were pretty much waiting like 40 minutes. They would get dropped off or they'd be on a bus for 10 minutes and then school wouldn't start for 40 minutes after the time the bus got there. That number's down to 20 minutes now. So I think that's a reasonable number considering, you know, the logistics of getting all kids into a spot in one place in the morning. So I'm happy to report that that's improved. The busing issues have been reduced. We put out things in the Friday folder asking for people to email the transportation department. He has been getting back to people quickly, and there have been less busing issues being brought to me, and I think right now it's going smoothly, as smoother than you'd expect. So another thing, and this is in the Friday folder also, when people, and I know you asked me this question too, when you want to make sure your information is correct in the school messenger system, which is the one that took the place of Honeywell, which is our system for notifying the public, the parents, about anything that's coming up, either an event or an emergency or a delayed opening or a closing. Where we get that information from is that student information sheet that goes home with you, goes home with your child the first day of school. It's very important that people update that with correct information, sign it, send it back in. The secretaries then go in, they make any changes that are needed, and then at night, every night, somewhere around 8 o'clock at night, it automatically comes out of Genesis and into the school messenger system so that your information gets updated all the time. Now, most things we do things in all different ways. Like we'll do email, phone, text. Some things, though, we might just do a text, so that's possible. We don't normally do that. Some things we just do an email. That's more normal. And we don't usually just do the phone call. So that's the system we have right now. Here's another thing that came up through the Department of Ed. We have to deal with the 3 non-public schools in town here for security money that's coming through the state. Morris Catholic is given $9,950. Goddard School $400, and St. Mary's gets $46.50. So I have to meet with their administration to decide how they're going to spend their money. That meeting has to take place by the end of October, and the resolutions for how they're going to spend their money is supposed to take place by the end of November. The money basically just funnels through us. It's in our accounts. We can't spend it. It's the same thing that you've seen a few times with the monies coming from the state for the non-publics. So I've made an attempt already, 2 attempts, actually 3. I phoned each of them, I emailed each of them, and I messengered them a letter today. Now, if they don't respond to it, you know, that's sufficient. We made 3 contacts with them, so then they wouldn't get their money, but we don't get it anyway. The thing is, there is a timeline for how it gets spent. That's it.
Thank you. Sandy, Assistant Superintendent's comments.
One item, the New Jersey Ask Science results have been returned. They will go out in the mail to 4th grade and 8th grade families this Friday. So the message was also it's going to be put in the Friday folder. So if you're a 4th grader or an 8th grader from last year, so a 5th grader or 9th grader, the results will be mailed home. And I will be presenting publicly the results at the next board meeting. That concludes Assistant Superintendent report.
Thank you. Can I ask you what that up with the whole statement about how it includes the statement?
Teaser, are you happy?
Yeah, you don't have to guess what I'm talking about.
Is it done or what?
I am
Tune
happy.
in next time.
Sandy's got a smile on her face, so tune in next bat channel, or next bat day.
Yes,
Damaris,
you'll want to see.
VA comment from Damaris.
What I have been counting. This past Friday, the district was awarded $1,000 for safety security grant from Eric West grant, and that will be used to security anything that's used to use it for.
Thank you. $1,000 that was, right? All right, thank you for that. It is now 8:14, and we'll open for public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, please step up to the podium, your name and address for the record, and have at it.
Kim Lillard, 9 Mile Terrace, and this goes right along with Mr. Forte just said with the messenger system, and actually fits right in with the 15-16 district rules of enhancing the communication process, including two-way communication. I know for a fact that mine is not the only family that cannot get text messages. There are several others that either do a monthly, like pay by message or don't get them at all. So if you send out district information via text messages, we have no way of getting it. You need to make phone calls or an email along with that, or you're eliminating family information. Which is one of the things I mentioned in the email. The other question I have about that is that sheet that we had to fill out was for emergency contacts. Now, my understanding was emergency contact is if my child gets hurt, and they can't get me, and they can't get David, and then they can't get my mom, they'll call my sister-in-law and my brother. They don't need to know every item that's going on in our district, so they really don't need to be on this messenger system. So is there a way that we can adjust ourselves which phone numbers and which email addresses are getting all these notifications?
Do you have somebody who's getting notifications now, like a phone call from me?
I think the house phone,
No, you said your emergency contacts. Are they getting phone calls from you now?
the only phone call we've gotten from you is the one before the first day of school. That's the only
Did your
confirmation
emergency
we have.
contacts get that too?
No, because they weren't on the list at that point.
Okay, so the phone call goes to Guardian 1 and Guardian 2.
Okay.
Now, we have the ability to do those other ones if we want to, but normally we do Guardian 1, Guardian 2. The reason why we need those other ones is in case we can't get you.
Okay, so that's my question is now school is closing early. How do I add other phone numbers to that? Say I work on Wednesday and Thursday nights. Now I'm not going to be able to get my kids. My husband's traveling away, so how do you know which phone numbers to put on that list just from that sheet? If you're not putting all of them, how do I tell you which ones?
It goes to Guardian 1 and Guardian 2. I
Right.
believe you can have up to 2 phone numbers per person. So in other words, you and your husband can have 2 phone numbers. It goes to, I believe, 2 emails for each person, but it might be 1, I think it's 2. But in the Friday folder, there's a little thing that says, any questions about the school messenger, please email technology or parentportal@denville.org. They will help you. So if you have a question about that specific question,
But there is supposedly a way that parents can add what phone numbers they want.
there's a
those
limit to
messages,
it.
or-
There's a limit to it. It doesn't just have an infinite number, but there's a.
Well, like I said, but my other concern is you you said it in the email that sometimes texting is the only way. You just reiterated that now. There's several families in this district that can't get text messages, or those people that are on that emergency list or contact that would be getting this information can't get text messages.
Well, I mean,
It's
said,
not a majority,
Yeah.
but there are a few, and every family in district should be able to get every notification.
I think it's more if we have the ability to do it. But I haven't once done a text message without an email.
Okay.
We do reserve the phone calls because phone calls should be for more important things rather than just something minor, because the more phone calls you get, people tune out. So I'm trying to make it so that we're communicating not just in the 2 ways and the goals, but more effectively too.
Okay, like I
If
said.
it's a closure, it goes on the website too. Like
Yeah, if it's a school closure.
Right, but I'm saying, I know that, like last year with Honeywell, all the past meetings were sent out through the phone calls, through the thing. If they were only sent out via text messaging, which is my concern, is that, like, specifically a quote from you is, sometimes texting is the only way, because, but it would not be for emergencies. So something like that, if you're only sending out via text messaging, my family and several others that I've spoken to directly, one of which I was on the phone with tonight, she couldn't be here tonight, we don't get text messages, so we have no way of getting those messages about these events that are going on. That's why I'm asking if it's,
Well, like I said,
make
leave it to
sure
it.
that you don't only do a text message, which is why I'm standing here.
Well, you haven't only done something via text message, right?
Not once. We have the ability to do it, but we haven't done it.
Okay, well, I'm asking that you don't, please.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm just here.
Yeah, if it's not, then Patrick will take it for you. Any other comments from the public? It is 8:19, and we will close the public section. And move on to old business. Carlos, you want to run us through the first section?
My pleasure. With all business, I'd like to move items A, B, and C.
I'll second.
Same for Mr. Cass. Any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Capello?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Duarte?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mr. Navarone?
Yes. Thank you. New business, personnel. You know, we'll take you through this section.
If there are no objections, I'd like to move items under A, personnel, 1 through 13 as a block. These include items for salary adjustments, items related to leaves for personnel, new hires, resignations, substitutions, and items 10 and 12 are items we're rescinding in favor of new items 11 and 13 respectively.
I'll second.
So, Don, you seconded it again. And move to, any questions on this section? Fair amount of stuff in there. So we have some leaves happening. I think they're all Riverview, right?
There's 2 leaves that were, 2 maternity leaves. And then a family, yeah, there's another one, it's a family leave.
Yeah.
This is new wording for the leaves.
Yes,
What we
yes,
previously had?
it's a little bit more detailed, it helps us with the FMLA. And the marriage might be able to speak more to that.
And the way it ends still leaves it open, they're just returning to work, you get to decide what placement you have.
Anyway, we have that in the beginning. Still keep that comment.
We have it in the overhead form.
Yeah,
That's in the bold.
which is A, personnel right under, right in the beginning of the motions.
To a position.
I knew I saw it, but then when I was reading each one, it was, okay, great.
I think you're right. I think it used to be on each individual.
It
person,
was.
But, any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Capello?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Duarte?
Yes.
That'll be-
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mr. Navarone?
Yes. Oh, good, right? All right. Mike is out on business. Mary Ann, do you mind moving us through the section for INP, also known as curriculum?
Yes,
You do mind?
I do mind.
All right. Barb, you want to move us through the section? Oh, all right, you know, good.
If there are no objections, on item B, instruction and programming, I'd like to move items 1 through 8 from the original agenda and item 9 from the addendum as a block.
I'll second.
You're on fire, Don.
So I have some questions about number 7. And I sent them to Mr. Forte, which is about us approving $150 for observation for ed services to come in again this year to do observations. And I know we had much discussion about this at budget time, and I didn't agree with us trying to put in an extra position to do this either. But at that point in time, we didn't know whether or not we were going to get our waiver, and there were a lot of variables. So from what I got from the numbers from Mr. Forte today, if we look at values, because that's the only one I got specific information about, for last year, they did 333 evaluations, with Mr. Iankoski himself doing 123. Right now, with the waivers, we're going to do total across the 3 schools, 188 evaluations, plus 59 walkthroughs. no, yeah, 108, well, 354 total evaluations. But if you look at just Valley View, it's 129 evaluations plus 59 walkthroughs, which is 188 total for the one building. I don't understand when our numbers.
Where'd you get the 59 walkthroughs?
You gave us the list.
That's a monthly number now.
Okay, so Mr. Antosca is gonna do 14 walkthroughs in a month.
Per month, right?
Plus he's gonna do 44 evaluations. Then a walkthrough is less time than a long evaluation. So let's count them equal. So if you add his 44 to his 14, he's now doing 58 things, and he did 123 evaluations last year. I don't understand why we need ed services. The number of evaluations, including the walkthroughs, has gone down significantly. Way more than the amount of evaluations ed services did last year.
How many did we have to do last year?
We had them do,
100. We had 150 observations last year.
By ed
Right now,
services?
correct. I currently have them scheduled for just about 50. Our waiver is, instead of 3 short, it's actually 1 long and 1 short. So time-wise, it's the exact same as last year. So even though the number might be less, it's the same amount of time. It's 1 40-minute. It does say on the recording, however, you do have to have them pre-conference, the official pre-conference with that. And we have just under 1,500 walkthroughs scheduled. We have non-tenured employees, have to still have 3, so 2 long and 1 short. We still have to have mid-year, and it does not, any of those do not, all those numbers do not count instructional aides or CST or any of those members. So none of those numbers count that because all of those are done by principals. So that is not reflective of our current number. What is being proposed here, I really only have, like I said, about 50 scheduled, but when we do the contract, which says not to exceed 20,000, that's the amount budgeted in the event that we have a case occur where an administrator is no longer able to continue all of the observations. We would not have to go back and reset the contract, I guess.
So 50 is about 75.
Right now, we've
what
only
you're saying.
approved, we only have up to 70 is the most that we have. So I would have to come back to the board to ask for, we would have to be doing additional, we'd have to request additional to do more than 70 days. But to be honest, we really can't do that many because we can't have an outside person doing both observations. So there's only a certain number of staff members that you can actually have an observation done by an outside person because you have to have an inside person do at least one of them. So you couldn't have it. So it is there is a limit on, and they can't be non-tenured, they can't be, a certain score they can't do. I mean, there's a lot of guidelines.
So Marianne was asking the question about the total number of evaluations going down, yet still need, I guess to her point is, why can't our administrators do all of them? Can you?
I don't think those numbers accurately reflect how many we're actually doing. Because yes, like I'm saying, the number might be go down, but the amount of time that they're actually doing it is the same. So before you would do 3 shorts, and now you do 1 long, so that's an hour of your time versus, or 40 minutes of your time.
Who only
versus
got
20.
3 shorts previously?
All 10,
And so now it's,
1 long and 1 short for tenured, and 2 long
but
and
it's
1
the
short for.
paperwork that was the longer time versus the 20 minutes versus the 40 minutes wasn't it?
It is. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think you have to add in that time. You
Well,
can't
I
say it's
asked for
not,
all the
but-
numbers, so now you said that there's, and those numbers were in this as far as I could tell.
The numbers are-
13, all the numbers that Steve said.
The numbers you're quoting are those specifically for teachers that are going through TeachGate, as their observations going through TeachGate. Those do not include any of the narrative numbers, because
Well, that
I
was the
know all
numbers I
those
asked for. I
numbers
asked
by
for
heart.
the total numbers last year versus the total numbers this year.
I sent you what I had.
Okay, I mean, because when you look at it, and we did in one school alone, 333 evaluations, same amount of time as now, and now total evaluations in the whole district is 354. That was one building versus the whole district. It seems very odd that we can't.
But we're going down from 150 contracted to 50.
How many less are we doing this year? It's like,
Through ed services?
no, how many just less are we doing? Because all we're doing is taking away 1 from tenure. So it's a reduction of what,
If we,
150 maybe?
So the number on the Excel spreadsheet, let's just do Valley View, because that's the only number I had for last year, because you didn't give me the numbers for the schools. So it says.
Didn't I send you
that
the, didn't I
they-
send
there
you?
were, I was gonna sit there and count them up. There was no total numbers
Actually,
on them. There was everybody's initials next to every evaluation. I was not gonna sit there. But Valley View actually had totals. So the Excel spreadsheet you sent says that there's 129 evaluations at Valley View. So you're saying on top of that, there's, okay.
you're not, that does not include mid-yearly conferences.
But
Does
that
not
happened
include
last
session.
year also. Everybody who was non-tenured got a mid-year and a summer.
But you're not, but I don't know what numbers you're comparing it to, but I'm saying those numbers are not included in the numbers that you're quoting. And they're not included aides, does not include support staff, doesn't include anybody but those teachers on that doc, because those numbers are just teachers that are in teach team. That's it. And we have a large number of.
So maybe you could prepare the document with the two sets of numbers. So we can.
Would like to. The reason that we're still using the contracted outside services, if we reduce that, that means that the break that we have given the administrators by using an outside service no longer exists at all. There would be no breakage for them. It would only be a breakage that we would not use outside services. But we would no longer be providing them any support because they would pick up all of them.
Well, it looked at the numbers on the service that were sent to you today, that the drop was larger in each building than what Ed Services was doing from last year. So they were able to handle, like I said, I mean, when you looked at what the VP and the PE did in Valley View last year compared to what they're doing this year, it's hugely different, which is why I'd like to see the numbers.
Well, we were looking at it too, just as far as across the district. If you kind of could spread it, instead of looking at it school by school, it was not evenly distributed.
No, they did that because now you have the VP, who's a central office position at Riverview, working in all three buildings.
You have every.
And you have, as always, the head of
45
child psyche working in all three buildings.
Yes, and myself. And, I mean, I can get you that with the aides and the other employees
Well, I'd like
as
to
well.
see a comparison.
The comparison is we went from 150 to 50 with them.
So Sandy, I'll ask the question. I guess Mariana's point, or I don't want to ask what her point is, but the administrators are not just twiddling their thumbs and doing nothing. I mean, the idea of having Ed Services come in is to take some of the burden off of what little time they have already to do.
Correct. We have to try to remember that we have also added now the building principals are meeting with the teams. Now that we've had that collaborative time, they each meet 18 times a week. I mean, that's a lot of meeting time with every one of their grade levels, because now they have 2 collaborative times and their meetings every week. I mean, so their meeting time has gone from 6 meetings a week to 18 meetings a week when we've asked them. So the amount of time that they are spending doing those activities has increased considerably.
So, and as far as I'm aware, since it hasn't been asked, this didn't move through committee, so it couldn't be reported out to the full board, but just so the whole board knows, during my time on the board requested to make sure that the superintendent evaluated everybody who was up for tenure at least some time before they recommended them, so that they knew who was getting recommended for tenure. Right now, you're doing walkthroughs, but no evaluation.
I do extra ones for all of them. They're not included in the number. So anybody who's on their year before tenure or getting tenure, I go in January and February. That's your.
But you don't do the full report.
I do the full report for anyone at the time.
But you only have 14 evaluations this year across the 3 schools.
Yes.
We're trying to do, like we said before, do it better.
It's not more than
Trying to improve it, and that's one of the things that we're talking about, is these collaborative meeting times are going to take up a lot of time, and not hopefully, but will improve instruction. It's something we've bought into, it's, I think, and the district is going to. And the walkthroughs are going to take time. So we have to do, and not only that, we have our meetings with the principals on their evaluations, and all the administrative team.
We do 10 observations of each administrator.
I told Sandy to put the total amount that we budgeted on there. We don't need that amount right now. The reason why I did it is because of things that you already know about. It's stuff that we've talked about in private before last year. And I don't want to bring it up now in public, but hopefully you remember what's going on. And we need to be able to have that flexibility because we're not quite sure what's going to go on.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, from my perspective is, and you guys are the experts, I mean, you are saying that the administrators are doing a lot of work already, and that they've got more meetings, and their time is already, any time that they would have gotten back from having not had to do the observations are now being filled with other things. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. And if we were to reduce our number outside, then the only person that's reduced from is the outside people. We didn't reduce their workload at all.
So, and again, I feel like, and I'm one of 7 or 6 tonight, but if that's what your recommendation is, that's what you're saying. I mean, like I said, you're not asking, just to reiterate, you're not suggesting that we put in ed services because we want to give them more time to do nothing.
And right now I have only 50, and it's likely that's not going to go up really, because there's only, like I said, there's only so many people they can serve. So we need to, it was budgeted for that in the event that we have, like last year, administrators leave, or occurrence happen when they're not able to complete the observations.
Yeah. Any other questions on that, or any other part of this session?
I have a question, maybe not so much about the cost, but rather the quality. Do you feel comfortable that the quality of observation we get from the outside consultant, education services, are they always good? Is there issues there, or ever issues? Just trying to get a feel for how those
We
outside
have,
observations.
Dr. Cullis did some stuff to adjust that.
Sure, we have one outside observer that we use. He actually was the former county superintendent, and so we work closely with him. He comes in and meets with each principal and does observations at the same time, and then we to calibrate our scores. So that has to happen twice a year, every year with every principal, so that's in place. But we decided that we only use him because he actually started, he knows our staff now, he comes in, he meets with everyone. He's familiar with the schools, the expectations in Morris County, and he's also the assistant superintendent of Randolph, so, he's very familiar with the area and the high expectations. So I'm very comfortable with him. We do not just contract with ed services.
On target gets missed, right? On consulting, like you said, your time, everybody's time. Like, you have to count that too, because that's time being taken away from doing something else, right? So you add all that up, you're probably looking at easily $150,000 a project. And we count all man hours and how much we spend per hour on a person.
So I think you're right in terms, I think when you bring on any sort of consultant, I don't know this one for that, but, or this person, this company, but, I would assume that if we were going to bring an outside expert, that we would have some sort of expectation of facilitating the plan to the degree that you're talking about, which is, I hate to put it in terms of corporations, but, if I bring in an outside consultant to do some sort of project for my group or something like that, the idea is that we have certain benchmarks and certain targets that we hit. And I don't know what she or this company does, or any other company does, or school boards would do for that matter. But I would assume that if we're going to bring in an outside expert, that they would, and that, I would hope that would be part of the process as well, is having certain benchmarks throughout the course of the process.
Well, once the plan is created, it's a year-long process. Once it's created and approved by the board, then district goals are driven from the strategic plan. So just like the district goals are, I'm accountable for achieving those goals, it's the same thing from the plan. So if you have like 6 different areas, there might be a goal in each area. And those are the goals that you're accountable for.
But you're talking more about the process of it, not the
Well,
outcome.
and
Not just at the end of the year, right? It's in between, right? You're gonna have milestones that you're gonna have to hit.
Are you talking about before or after it's done?
implementing the goals were
All right,
created.
so once the plan is done, and you have the strategic plan, the board approves it, again, the district goals come from the plan.
But I
And
think,
then the board decides whether or not, in the superintendent's evaluation, whether or not those things have been achieved.
I think Carlos is talking about the performance of the person that we bring in, is this idea of what what our expectations of them are throughout the process of the 2 years.
Well, they don't, that's why I'm trying to differentiate between whether or not you mean during the planning process or after. Because once the planning process is over, the consultant doesn't, she'll ask us questions, but she doesn't come on site to do anything.
No, after that, it goes back to our administration.
Yeah, I would think that
The committees.
the consultant would have to have and also milestones, benchmarks as the planning process goes through.
But
So
I,
you're comfortable with spending $15,000? That's the question I'm
Well,
asking.
yeah, the other thing I just mentioned too, we have a wide variety of people here with business expertise and engineering expertise, educational expertise. I always thought we could forget all strategic plan without one on the outside,
So it's a yes or no?
especially from the
I was gonna say, we
Maybe
had
I'm
the
just
vote
jumping
already,
back
right?
to
And the
my
answer
own-
was
I
no
mean,
for this
you know,
budget
for
cycle.
the scope,
right?
in terms of the size of the budget and everything,
But you actually know what's
$50,000 is
going
not
on.
a great deal. I just thought we had the expertise here to be able to put a strategic plan together by having somebody from the outside hold their hands to plan the process. I mean, maybe if they could come in and talk about what they do, which is fairly general right now. I am perceiving.
But I guess what I can do, I mean, I'm trying to give you a plan that I think is, you know, on par with some of the best districts in New Jersey that use this kind of system. If we want to go a different route, a cheaper route, to do probably the most important thing we're going to do, then I guess we have to talk about the difference in salary, the difference in the money. Like how much we're willing to pay. I mean, how much are we willing to pay?
Weren't they talking about because you were here during goals when we went back in?
well, nothing is,
So it goes back to a
Wait,
simple
let's
yes
go
or no
back to
question.
Don earlier with, all right, we had a vote in the budget cycle and it failed for this year. So I'm confused as to why.
But the
it's-
question is, Barb, did it fail because we didn't want to spend the money or because we didn't
No,
want to
we
plan strategically?
extracted the money because of the majority, the will of the board was that we did not feel the need for an outside
That was
consultant.
my understanding also, and I spoke to Mike about this after our last meeting also. My understanding was we extracted it because we didn't want to bring in an
Specifically.
outside source, not because we didn't want to do.
Exactly, and that's on the record, and I did screen a boatload of
So then it goes back in
superintendents,
the
and you
goals
had
now.
like the greatest vision, like the reason, not to downplay
wait, no,
your
wait,
talents
but
here,
no,
but
the
no,
vision
it's
is
like,
totally different than the idea of implementing
it?
it, but yes.
I have,
But that's why
we
when
can
we
buy a
got back
book.
in the goals.
Like you wanna, like, to Carlos's point, being on these projects that last for years, like, you need skin in the game. And there's a lot of man hours involved, like boatloads of man hours, like,
Well, and then the
and I don't
next
even
question.
think, like, you know, so I just feel like this failed in the budget, and I'm confused as to why it's still.
Well, that's why I wanted us to just say yes or no. So it was a no, it's a no here. I'm not really
I
sure.
think that night I said yes, but I'm gonna stick with the will of the board, and it was resoundingly no,
No.
take it out.
Right, we want a strategic plan. I just don't want to spend this kind of money. And I looked at the document that you sent us that was either your previous district or something that this person that you're recommending could possibly recommend, that you recommended to us back in the budget cycle. It's very broad brush, this one document, one page, looks just like that, to drive the district for 5 years. It's just like these goals, they're very broad brush vague. What, enhance the communication process means to you and me and people in the audience and people at home are all totally different things to what proves that goal. It's very nebulous to me. The goals we're setting again this year.
It's not what they call a SMART goal.
No, it's not a SMART goal. And last year when we did it, we had such a far way to come. It seemed like a good way to all sort of come together. We had a new superintendent, a new team. Let's do something that's, it's too nebulous for me. It's too broad brush. It could mean anything.
So I guess, in short, right, I don't want to say no, like, right off the top, but I think I'd like to understand more about this. What this really entails, what we're actually getting, that kind of.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and the other districts have used it, and they're real good school districts. I mean, you use the word cheap. I don't want to run off the lady saying, you buy cheap, you get cheap. So, we want to make sure that this strategic plan we put together is well done, and it's first class. But maybe we just get more specifics on what exactly the consultant's going to do. Be part of the plan. It's primarily the planning process. So, I'm interested in knowing just if we can get a little bit more detail, I can make a more informed decision. But, the amount of money, and again, in terms of the entire budget, it's certainly not a deal with the budget rate to spend the money, but we got to spend the money wisely.
So Don, if I can respectfully say, right, the term cheap, right, I know it gets thrown down there and everybody's like, I don't want to be perceived as being cheap, I want to do the right thing by the district. That term does not scare me. We have to be cheap because we don't have a lot of discretion. Okay? You add up the years of service of all the people in this district, a lot of
They're gonna
years of
do
service
better.
in public education. And if we don't have the brightest people doing these jobs, then we have the wrong people here.
You know, Carlos, you work for a really good company, and I just assume, based off what you just said, that you have 0 consultants on your staff.
Of course we do.
Okay. You're talking
We
about,
keep headcount down.
well, it's not just headcount, though. You bring in a McKinsey, you bring in an EY, you bring in a Price Waterhouse, right?
Look at the difference
Do you,
in
yes or no?
budgets. Look at the- My
Yes.
budget is more than the entire town's budget.
And that's fair. My
Right,
point,
so
my
you
point
can't
is that
sit
you,
there and compare them.
this is a
And that's
first
why I said
class.
at the very beginning, I don't want to compare us to.
No, no,
other
but
type
you-
of companies
you said something
where we
that-
have the funds to hire a McKinsey.
You work for a first-rate company that hires, like yourself, very talented people, who I would assume have a certain level of experience and depth within the particular area that you would bring an outside consultant for. I'm not talking about auditors or anything like that, but you bring in experts on purpose. Because you either A, don't have the time to undertake a significant project, right? Or B, you need somebody whose extreme strategic focus is in a particular area to be able to tackle that particular need, right? Right? Right, so my point being
I'm
that
not
this,
dealing with public funds.
that's fair. But the idea is that you're bringing in somebody who's an expert to do something that, to your point, may be able to be done by someone on your own staff. But you do it because it's the right thing to do from a business perspective. And we've talked a lot of, and listen, you guys can all vote no. But this idea of doing something cheap is not the right way to phrase it. And it's certainly more important to think about this idea that we're spending $30 million a year plus on the education in this district. And we have about $12 million worth of improvements that need to be done, in addition to this idea of whatever is going to be coming our way in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Now, you can talk to, 6 people down here or 7 people on this board who have 0 experience in putting together a strategic plan. We can go to school boards. We can use an outside consultant, by the way. Or we can, bring in somebody and do it the right way and spend $15,000, which is, yes, it's a decent amount of money. $10,000 for a consultant is a decent amount of money. But at the very least, you're walking away with a process and a project that you can look at your voters or your townspeople in the eye and say that we brought in experts to come together with this plan, not 6 people who don't have any concept of a strategic plan to do it. Vote no, but at the very least, that's what you're voting for. I agree with you, but that's the way you should be. I mean, you can say yes or no all you want, but this idea of making a decision without having any sort of detail on what this person is going to do, or just outright saying no because somehow you have some sort of experience here, is as far as I'm concerned, 1 of 7 is silly. We don't have experts in the district who know how to do those things. We don't have the depth on this board to be able to do those things. We don't. And you can
They
spend
sell
the district's money.
materials online, like the American Society of Quality has a whole education division. You can buy books, how to do, every district has to do this kind of thing. I mean, it's not.
Mr. Napoloni, I just wanted to clarify, so for number 8, you're voting today to decide on the goal, but the goal is just to investigate what you're going to do. You're not voting tonight to decide.
No, we're not voting on
what
that
the
part.
plan
You're
I
right.
preface
is.
that.
Is it gonna be
I
on
understand,
the
but we
board or
only
not?
get to vote here. We don't get to vote later.
No,
And
whether
I
or not
was,
this is a goal or not. I
yes,
guess.
but the
I think
goal,
you'll last.
the goals get approved right now. And I had the same understanding that Barb spoke
How to get there.
about, that I'm confused why we're back to getting, and I hear your argument, Mr. Napoloni, why we're back to this when the majority of the board spoke at budget time and said, no, we don't want to spend $50,000 on that. Yes, we want to do long-term planning. No, we don't want to spend $50,000. That's, every time anything gets voted down by the board, a majority of the board, it just comes back again and again until the board says yes.
Okay, so then vote no again. The whole board
No,
vote
that
no
we're
again.
voting to do a plan and then put it in some rationale
No,
for
we're not
it in
voting
the
for a
next
plan.
year's.
We are
Yes,
absolutely-
it's
no.
on the goal.
We are voting for a
It's
goal.
a district goal.
Right, you're
Create
voting for a
plan.
goal. You're not voting for a plan.
It's a 2-year goal.
You are not voting for a plan. You are voting for a
To
goal.
create the plan, and we're saying, we're in full support of creating a plan. The question is, how do you get there? And right now, there's no budget for any outside consulting.
So what's
That's
gonna,
why it's a 2-year
That's
plan,
all.
Barb.
so there's gonna be.
Right, so
right.
then
This
my
year we'll
answer,
come up
but
with
we need more.
Right.
We're saying the talent lives here.
I'm just saying,
That's right.
I want it out in the
Well,
open before we
I'll bring the
voted.
book. I have a book in my basement.
I don't wanna read a
on
book
this.
about how to run how to strategically plan for a district in the next 3 or 4 days.
It's written
I
specifically
will
for
not do
that.
it. It's not gonna be from my side. I won't.
Well, that's
Barb.
sad, you don't
I
want
think-
to.
I
It's not, I wanna bring in an expert to do it the right way, not some guy who's gonna read it
In short,
in his
more
part-time.
information on what this guy's gonna do, how
I
he's
think-
gonna do it.
Yeah.
I think we have to buy into the fact that this district needs help with long-term planning. I mean, I'm talking about going back to the beginning when the district was built. Why we have a school with 800 elementary school kids? I mean, it's just selling the building for $1 to the town. could have used it. Having a board office that's been closed for 5 years, having rented space for a board office. I mean, you can just keep adding and adding and talking about all this. You're right, Dave, we spent $30 million. This is spending $15,000 on telling us how to spend $30 million. That's what it is. And I will give you as much information as possible. What I told you guys in the beginning was that Sandy and I will meet with some people, we'll talk about it, and we'll give you our recommendation. It's a recommendation. If the board votes no on it, then they vote no on it, and we'll do the best we can. But I want to give you a good product, a product that would be in line with some of the best districts in New Jersey, so that we can drive this district forward. It needs something. And Mariana, I understand, I think you think that that's the only plan was that thing. I mean, that's the document that we came up with like that, so we could market it. It's not everything. I've shared with you everything already a couple times, and I can give you that again. It's a pretty, I mean, it's really a whole website just on this. And we boiled it down to something about that size because it needs to be that way. We don't have anything around the district like that. We don't have anything that's the only thing we have. It's 3 words. It's important, they're important 3 words, but it's not you know, like a focus of the district in terms of all these 6 different strategies. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And yeah, could we do it for less money? Sure. But this is my recommendation to you. This is why you hired me. You hired me to recommend things.
But
That's what I'm here to do.
But just to be clear, we're voting on a goal. Now, how that, and we've clarified this tons of times in my time here, but how we go about implementing that is sort of in his lap.
It's a TBD.
Now, when budget time comes and he's asking for $10,000 for a consultant and you vote no, then he's gonna have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out a different way. I mean, that's the bottom line. What he gave you was his plan as of this moment, which may have to evolve based off of the district's willingness to pay the money for it. And that may go for any of these goals. We, as a board, may choose to not do something, and that's incumbent on us to either support what he wants to do or not. Now, you may not like the goal, so vote no for the goal, but how he goes about doing the goal is going to be incumbent on us to vote for certain things, a certain pathway as we go on.
And then the will of the board is the will of the board. So we're just agents, one, but the will of the board was not to spend the money at this time.
At this time. What about next year? Did we vote on that yet?
No.
Okay, well, we haven't spent any money.
Right,
And it
so we're
hasn't been
good.
spent.
No, I think the discussion's pretty much wrapped up. I was just surprised that it was, I guess I'm sorry for missing goal setting, it came up there.
Yeah.
It's
Some
a
of it.
worthy goal.
Any other questions, points, comments, clarifications, anger, anything?
I think Monday meetings are not good. It's just-
Packers are playing some okay game here. Roll call, please.
Mr. Capello?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
I'm gonna vote no because I don't agree, not with the strategic goal itself, but with the goals not being smart goals.
Mr. Paris?
Yes.
Mr. Duarte?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mr. Napoloni?
Yes. All right, one move through the policy section, please.
I make a motion that we accept for second reading and adoption, regulation policy 3218, teaching staff members substance abuse, 4218, support staff substance abuse, 5200, pupils attendance, and 8360, operations bus driver, bus aid responsibility.
Do you have a second for that?
I'll second.
John, killing it. Any comments, questions about this section? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Paris?
Yes.
Mr. Duarte?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes?
Mr. Napoloni?
Yes. Thank you.
I have some comments about policy, should I just wait till the end if it was enough?
No, you might as well go now.
Well, some of it's transportation and related, so I could wait till transportation.
No, we're about to go into transportation. We can do that now.
Okay.
You want to go into transportation?
Sure. I'd like to request for the next transportation meeting that we do, and I'm not sure, Dave, I want to steal your words, 360, a debrief.
Postmortem.
Postmortem, that's the word, thank you. On I know you gave a short report to the whole community about busing. I'd like to have the transportation committee hear about the in-depth of how rolling out the new school year went, the complaints, the issues that came up, the response times, things like that. And I'd also request of the board that we look at policy and regulation 8600, which is transportation, since I believe that's the policy and regulation that should memorialize dropping off kids at bus stops and everything else that I know we had an issue or two with, and make sure that we have policy behind whatever board practice is. And I mean, right now, I know Mr. Anderson also sent me copious emails, and copied you on it, about transportation issues, and I mean, I'm not even sure all of what's in the policy and regulation we have right now we are doing, so I'd like to just ask for the board to put it on its review cycle,
8600?
policy and regulation.
Yeah.
And I know I'm in transportation and not really policy, so the other one, there's actually another one that I'd like the board to look at, which is policy 9180, school volunteers, but I can talk about that later if we go to the policies that it's not transportation.
Any other comments on transportation? Because I know we have nothing to move transportation.
I have nothing.
D&G, Donald.
Thank you. Formality. This question here, number one here, transportation.
Well, you want to move it before we start talking about it?
Okay, well, why don't, move, transportation buildings and ground resolutions.
Okay. You have a second for that?
Second.
Thanks.
Number one would be, I guess, transportation, I guess is just the way they're listed here. And the second one would be buildings and grounds.
Do you have a question about it or not?
I saw
Oh, why-
transportation,
one fell
number
under-
one, not
one
under
under the other?
transportation, but
It's really just operations.
it's all operations together, okay.
It's all operations.
All right, well, I moved it, you got a second, I don't have any comments on it.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, can I ask about number two, this quote for 5580, did you receive any other quotes? Doesn't seem like a huge amount of actual material, I understand it's hazardous. Just give us some background on the process.
Yeah, it's, we've had these materials laying around in actual classrooms, believe it or not, for several years now, and they're supposed to be removed. It's just never done. We have some things like canisters of gases that are, if they fall over, can actually create a missile. So there's not a lot of people who take care of this stuff for schools. So we reached out to this company in Union City. We also need to do it quickly because, if it happens and I don't know about it, but once I know about it, we can do something about it. We had 6 plastic canisters of some kind of chemical right next to the river being stored at the bus garage, leaning against the fence. And, there was really nowhere to put it. It was something that we used a long time ago and we don't use anymore. And obviously, I was concerned that if any of it leached into the river for any reason, if somebody accidentally hit one of those drums and it broke and spilled into the river, we'd be on the hook for a huge DEP mess. So that's where we're at right now. The majority of the cost, believe it or not, is the disposal, not the labor. There's $500 in labor. You guys saw that quote. The rest of it is actually where he actually has to take it to certain sites that take these things. And these are not things you can take to the county or any other type. They don't take magnesium or oxygen, things like that. So we have a couple more things that we found and he took for us too, which was nice. There's other chemicals we had laying around at the bus garage that he was able to take. So it's pretty important that we get it done as soon as possible. Again, I didn't know about it once I found out about it.
Do we have any process in place in terms of manifesting hazardous materials that we use them as a chemical education and lodges as well? Do we have any kind of system?
Well, there's certain levels of hazardous stuff. This is a higher level because it's stuff you can't dispose of in the county. The other things are pretty much things you can dispose of in the county.
I don't mean so much disposing. I mean
Well,
going
well, yeah, we have-
forward for keeping track,
there's
so
a,
it's not something that's something you don't know.
what's the name? Right to know. Right to know. we have to do the training and all that stuff. This is stuff that we had years ago, we used to use that in a classroom setting. We don't use it anymore, so it's really required to be disposed of. So yeah, we have a process in place to track chemicals and things like that. These are ones that were just old, that were in closets and things like that. We're trying to get a handle on it.
Any other questions on this section? All right, roll call.
Mr. Capello?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Duarte?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes,
Mr. Napoli?
Yes. Finance, Barb, will take us through that?
sure. I see no reason you want to move the entire 12 as a block, the finance, there's the,
And the addendum too.
yeah, there's, okay, the revised resolution regarding the Opanaki House. There's the regular, okay, the safety grant. Okay, and that's, John put that out, I think?
John did it last
Yeah,
year,
right
Larry did
before.
this year.
Oh, okay, so it's renewed, okay. So, CUSAC, report, well, statement, continuing, type, continuing of assurance, CUSAC. Attachment 1, Riverview Library books, field trips, budget transfers, checklists, a change order payable to Martin of Verona for the cost of equipment rental associated with breaking out rock to allow for drainage at Lakeview School. Rental. And on the addendum, there are 3 items listed on the green sheet. Educational Services Commission transferred 2 students equipped in school. Oh, to us to go to the workshop. And select energy services company implementation for energy saving for the ESA. Okay?
Yeah, it wasn't on
The
there.
ESIP goes all the way down like that.
Yeah, it's all in. So that's the entire block.
Do you have a second for that?
I'll second.
Thanks, Doug. No.
No, because he moved one, he couldn't
Yeah,
second it.
Carlos did that one. You broke the perfect game. Nice job. Questions, comments about this section?
I'm new to the CUSAC report. This is our own self-report.
Statement of assurance. When you're a high-performing district, and the state considers us a high-performing district because we have like 90% every year. Last year we lost 1 point because of a fingerprinting problem we had. So this year we have that under control. We have one. So it's normally every 3 years, but the state has expanded it for people, for districts that are high achieving, and maybe about 7 years. They say about because who knows, change back. So now for 7 years, you can do the statement of assurance saying you did all these things. When you get a full CUSAC, you actually come and monitor.
Any other questions, comments?
I mean, just for the public's sake, the Opanaki house, there was a bidding, but there were no bids, so. In auction. So we discussed the idea that you could actually just treat it like a regular homeowner, if nobody bids on it. So we're still in a quandary as what to do next. But this at least gives us some options to pursue bidders, like directly, this revised wording through legal. That's why I'm on.
Got it.
And just for finance, I didn't put a formal report together because our last finance committee, it was an ESIP, we met. So just for the record, we have 3 professionals that we brought in and it was a nice presentation, like working for the district. But at no cost to the district, based on the savings they get there,
It's broken in?
Yes. And so, but in this case, I am totally in agreement that we are not experts in finance and bonding and like engineering for this ESIP proposal that is going to come from like Mr. Kasia, who has visited our district previously, talking the Honeywell solution. That's all I have to say about that, but I thought it was very nice, right?
I got to sit down in the presentation, and I came away with a lot of comfort, especially from the consultants.
Why are you blushing?
Yeah, I'm laughing.
We're on the same page, you know, it's all right. I know you're on camera, you can't say I'm sorry, and Dave, you were right, and all these other things, but it's okay.
Again, like I said.
No, in certain circumstances, it makes a lot of sense.
Any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Capello?
Yes on everything but number 11.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes on everything except number 12, I'll abstain.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes, but I'd like to have to abstain on number 11.
Mr. Napoli?
Yes. Good cause.
I have a question.
Yo.
Did those motions pass? 3 votes? I mean, well, we have the doctrine of necessity.
Is the majority of
There's
the.
4,
there's
I didn't abstain on 11.
You have to abstain on number 11.
So we have 4 yes and 2 no.
No, you have 4 yes.
Oh, abstain, 4 yes and 2 abstain. Sorry.
4 is majority of the board.
Good cause. Committee reports. Anything to report from committee reports? I know we're talking about changing time for Tuesdays. Correspondence, discussion items. Board of Ed office. I think Barb talked about where we're at. Board office. Anything about that, Steve?
You passed a resolution to sell it privately. We'll work on it.
Trailers. You want anything about the trailers?
Trailers, we're still working with the demographics person on the study. He has the data. We gave him the data last week. So we should hear back. We should have a final report either late October or early November.
In the field, so are any updates on that?
That's on there. That's put it on there. It's going to be brought up in the next committee meeting. And it's, I shared with you the report from the engineers.
There is one thing I wanted to add in terms of committee reports. Hey, Don, I know when we get the, let's say we get the demographic study about trailers and things like that, I think that's also going to talk, or help us with the office space and things, and that part of it also, right? So Don, for November, for your B&G committee, can you add in, to get a recommendation from the committee on the board office home in the future? So that we can go into our December meetings with a recommendation from the committee, is that fair? At that point, we should have the demographic study back, right? We should have all the information, hopefully to talk about office space.
We can bring it up. The second piece of that, though, is that the, very well, municipal officer would have to use Lakeview School for some of the stuff, right? So part of that study we would have to know is there room at Lakeview School? I don't get into the cost of any construction that would have to be done.
Yeah, but that, we should have the
We should
study
have all
back
that.
by
Yeah,
then,
that should
it'll
be
give
in
us
the
that
study.
data.
Okay, so that would come back to committee, we can have with recommendation, a couple of pieces so that they can recommend.
When are we expecting that?
It sounds like October.
Yeah.
October.
Or November.
I mean, he needs the October 15th count to finalize it, so he said the end of October. I was saying maybe.
But if we can get it back for that, I'd love to be able to go into end of November, December, and have some sort of, I know one of our goals is to do that. If we can hit it by the end of the year, that would be huge.
We, Damaris is all working on something that'll come through the committee on the purging and storing our files electronically. Due to the fact that we do spend somewhere around $10,000 to store this stuff now. Anything less than that would be a positive. So we're looking at ways to scan things. There's different services that do all different types of. There's different ways of doing it. So we're looking at a few different people. We have a discussion plan. We'll bring it through committee, and I think it makes a lot of sense if we can take everything that's in a room and fit it into something about this way.
Just for clarity's sake, would we have our people do that sort of thing, or bring in outside people to do a lot of that stuff? All right.
You can't
Thanks for that. Any other?
I'll send you just to my class.
Go ahead, I was gonna say, Dino and I went to the
Marianne and I were at the Morris County School Board meeting, and there was what I thought was an excellent presentation about parks data that's going to be coming our way from testing shortly. Stating a lot of information about what to expect and unpacking the data. They're also saying that they're going to be providing us with some templates and so maybe a toolkit to talk how we kind of roll that data out and talk about it, unpack it. The presentation I thought was excellent. I brought back a paper one if anybody would like a copy of the presentation.
Oh, thank you. I forgot to remind you to hand out to our, I took one too.
And we were asked to be the district that works on them with the toolkit on the rollout for our pass. So Kimberly Harrington has asked that I work with them to present that at our pass.
I'll scan the documents.
Cool.
That's great, yeah. It was a wonderful night. That's great. We're gonna get to work with them. All the other districts can learn from us. And we cut our teeth on it all.
Is that right?
Good.
I also went to the legislative committee meeting, and something that they shared with us today at the New Jersey School Board's legislative committee meeting on Saturday down in Trenton. And they shared with us Thursday night at the county meeting was the mission of New Jersey School Boards this year is advocacy, and they're working, I guess, Larry Feinstein always says, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. That they're working harder not only now to build these relationships, but to actually create legislation and get sponsorship in the Senate and Assembly to sponsor the bills to try and work on legislation. So there are two things that every board member across the state, all 5,000 of us, should be on the lookout for. And Don, one of these I think is near and dear to your heart. They're going to be coming to us. They're going to do a study and survey on the underfunded and unfunded mandates. So they're going to reach out to us about that. And the other one, which is next June, I believe, the accountability regs sunset, and they want to get input from board members. We're going to do a survey coming out to all board members on that also. I can send you a link to the accountability regs. They said also that there should be a hard copy in every board office. It's administrative code, I forget what the number is. It's somewhere over 200 pages, but for those of us that have been on the board a long time, most people usually remember it as the no food in meetings and no plastic paper regs. It's once again, and they're trying to get somebody, they're going to get the data. They testified against that when it originally happened. But they want to know everybody's like top 10 most egregious things that they should be working to try and get out of them if they get re-up. So everybody should think about that so that they can answer their surveys. Oh, there's one other thing. Yeah, I'll send an email. They've set up an advocacy network so that they can text all of us. Yeah, right, I can say it. And they have you do it right there at the meeting so that they can get you information so that you can easily shoot off an email, pick up a phone, or send snail mail if that's your thing, to our legislators, because it really does make a difference. And they put together, I'm sure it's somewhere on the New Jersey School Board's website, a 9-minute video that they're showing at all of these meetings, going around talking to legislators and them talking about what a difference it makes when they hear from us. More so even than New Jersey School Boards advocating on behalf of board members, because board members are elected by their constituents also and are your local in the field people that have much more interaction with the community than a legislator does. So I'll send you the link to how to, if you want to get involved, so they can send you texts with what's going on.
Cool. Thank you for that. 9:21, we'll open up for public comment. If you'd like to speak, please step up to the podium. Name and address for the record.
So Kim Lower at 9 Wildwood Terrace.
Still?
Still,
All right.
yes. Real quick question. First, I wanted to thank Dr. Cullis for the paper copies of all the summer work for my kids, since we have no computer, Wi-Fi, anything while we're camping upstate all summer in New York. So that was really awesome that she put that together, especially for my kids, knowing that we could not get onto Mark's calls. And the other thing is, I just want to ask, number 5 in that last section, talks about to approve the discarding of books at the review library that are old or broken or out of relevance. Do those just get thrown away, or is it a possibility of running like a discarded book sale like they used to do?
I think these are books that are beyond repair. Am I right about that, Sadie?
I still have some of those from when I went to review, and they're gone. I had them all taped together. My copy of Are You My Mother is actually discarded from the review library, and we taped it all back together, and my kids still read it and stuff.
These ones are different than the last set, whereas they are actually library books the kids might want to read if they don't have. Yeah, they're not textbooks. But the top one on the list is Captain Underpants. These are not textbooks.
Yes.
Some of them are relevant titles, but they're not.
Right, and they're horrible
But
condition.
I will, I'll check on it, so we can do, for sure.
Any other public comments? 9:23, I'll close that part and open up for board comments. I did have one thing myself, I don't know if anyone else had
Doing
any.
a book sale for fundraising that gets done.
What's that? Do it at the same time. Yeah.
They still has the book
Just
sale.
I don't want to take, away from more.
Oh.
Get rid of it, I just assume give it away.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna give them away. We have,
Yeah, we could put them in a pile and say,
this is beyond,
great.
Yeah, come through, pick them up, whatever's left over at the end of the week.
I did have one thing, there was a really nice article that Steve had sent to us, I don't know if you guys saw it in the paper as well, in the Daily Record about, Daily Record, I know, just giving you a heads up, this could have been yours. About the level of education that's now being taught at Valley View. And I think it's a testament to, I think what Sandy's been doing for the last couple of years since she's been here. Certainly Paul, and now Seth up there too, and Steve as well. This idea of driving up a higher level of education at the middle school, inclusive of honors bio class and the math level classes that are going up. Certainly before that, even before your time, the STEM classes that we started putting in. I think it's all sort of a testament to this idea of raising the bar, which I think everyone on this board deserves a pat on the back for, but certainly our administrators for driving it. And I just want to say a quick thank you to you guys.
Thank our consultants for coming in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I will add to what you were saying, Dave, I have to speak with the board member from the region. We're the only district that's in line with doing
Yep.
right now. And I think that's awesome. And I want to keep seeing us drive that level of education. Even getting about that, we could be doing that, some things that no. Too many times we see a lot of kids that get bored.
But I also think that, we always hear about the little things, even my son's bus got moved, and they moved and the bus still passes my house, and someone will drop us off but I mean, things like that happen, right? We always hear about that. We always hear about the little nuanced individual effects of things that happen to the kids of the town. And one of the things I don't think you necessarily always hear about is something as powerful as this, and we talked about it during the full-day kindergarten and the impact that had. This is one of those things also that I think drives that higher level that is huge. So, it's easy to, whenever you tell 10 people, right? Hopefully we'll be telling a couple hundred people that, this is a real positive for the district. So nice work on that part. That's all I had on that part. Any other board comments before I close it?
I just want to make sure when I was in transportation, I also asked for 9180 school volunteer policy to get put on for the whole board to look at. It's the one around school volunteers. I know there were still questions when I was in my PTA circuit. I just want to make sure that the board understands what the policy says and that how it's happening. Can I request that we get the numbers on how many people got fingerprinted at each of the schools last year and then again this year, so we understand how many people now have fingerprinted when we start to look at these?
We probably had last year's. I'm not sure that we have all of this year's yet. I know Jamie just did hers. My wife did hers just
Right, well, so,
yesterday.
last year's.
Yeah. Yep. So can we send that 8,600 and 9180 to everyone? Sure. If you don't mind? For those who have a board policy book somewhere.
Well, it's all online.
Online.
Everything is digital there on our website.
927, we'll close the board section. We do have to go back into executive session to finish up one component, which I'm sure won't take a long time, but we are not gonna be voting when we come out, so if you don't wanna stay, thank you. Can we, you wanna move us into executive again?
If there are no objections, I
Nothing.
will move to executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act. The purpose of this closed session will discuss negotiations, legal and personnel issues. Minutes of the session will be made available to the public and legal confidentiality and all reasons.
Second for that?
Which one is it? Is it all of those?
Oh, it's for, legal.
To discuss legal issues. Minutes of this session will be made available to the public and legal confidentiality no longer exists.
The second for that?
I will second it.
Now everyone's waiting for you.
We won't even go.
So,
He can't second it.
Dies on the
Wait, he
vine.
can't second it, he can only be a Mrs. and Mrs. or a Ms.
Who's mister?
Not on this form, he's not.
Well, anyway, all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, opposed? Abstentions? All right, it is 9:28.
Oh, I named that.
We are moving into executive session 9:28. Thank you, appreciate it. Do we have to do this again?
I make a motion to come out of
Hold on a
executive session
second.
at 9:45.
It's recording.
All right, it is 9:45.
And I second
Oh,
it.
that's right, I'm gonna just read this out here. So 9:43, we came out of executive session, Carlos moved us to adjourn, Don seconded the motion. It was 6 in favor, no nays, and no abstentions. 9:45, we close the meeting. Thanks.